Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on when you're watching this. How's it going, guys? First off, I hope you're having a good day today. Hope your day's going well and hope it continues to go well. Welcome back to episode 2 of JLAndersonStudios, the series where I take you behind the scenes on how I do everything music. On episode 1, we talked about all the essential gear for recording music at home. We talked about microphones, talked about headphones, audio interfaces, DAWs, gear, software, and that's great and all, but when you get all of it, where do you go from there? And that is the purpose of today's episode, because I'm going to show you how I record music from my home studio. And before we go any further, I do want to say this video is not sponsored by anyone. If I say a brand name, if I say a product, is just what I personally use. No one's paying me at all to shout out their stuff. I will put some links down in the description box below to some of the things that I do use, but those will be Amazon affiliate links. So if you purchase anything from there, you get a little kickback from the channel. It goes into helping the studio grow further, more plugins for songs, and other life needs for someone who just graduated college. But anyway, besides that, let's go ahead and get right into it on how I personally record music. In episode 1, I talked about having that dedicated workspace to where if you go there, you know you're doing work. Really, that can go for any aspect of life. Having that one dedicated spot wherever you're at, where you know if you go there, you're doing something, whether that be editing photos, whether that be answering emails, sending emails. I have an email I have to send after this, doing your taxes, doing your homework, studying, doing music like I am. Having that one dedicated spot will increase your productivity flow, which is why I view this as an essential part of my recording process, going to this corner of the room and gaining inspiration. This isn't going to be a studio tour of like what's all here, but it's just off in the corner of my room and it's my dedicated work zone. But now let's go into the actual gear I use to record. This is the brains of the operation. This is my 2020 MacBook Pro. Here are the specs on it. They aren't maxed out, I believe, because at the time I couldn't max it out, but I still love it nonetheless. And the DAW that I choose to run is Logic Pro X. I've tried many DAWs. I've tried Reaper, I've tried Audacity, I've tried Ableton, I've tried GarageBand, I've tried Studio One, tried Cubase, I've tried Pro Tools, but Logic has been my favorite one to use because I love the fact that there are so many MIDI instruments that are built in that sounds super cool. And I love the fact that people make fully produced songs and albums within Logic. So to me, it was a no-brainer. So MacBook Pro 2020 with Logic. Anytime I need to use a microphone and or an instrument, I use this interface. This is my SSL2 by Solid State Logic. I absolutely love it so much. I don't play drums. I'm not miking up 50 things, so I don't need an audio interface with 50 different inputs. I'm fine with just having 2. And with the 2 inputs, I can do so many things like use 2 different types of microphones. I can use a microphone and an instrument. I can record 2 guitars. I can record a guitar and a bass. I can record a whole acoustic thing right here. I absolutely love it. I'm also pretty weird in the sense that I only use channel 1 anytime I'm using a microphone and channel 2 anytime I'm recording an instrument. It doesn't have to be like that at all. I totally can record a microphone channel 2 and an instrument channel 1. I am just weird in the sense that I use each channel for their own sole purpose. I don't know, I'm pretty weird. And then on this, I have the 4K switches pushed in, which is just an EQ. And then I mess around with the USB, the head input mix right here is especially if I'm doing vocals, and of course overall headphones control. I don't have any monitors, so that usually just stays at 0, and the stereo switch is almost never on for the inputs and or the USB. And right beside this, I already have my microphone set up to record vocals, voiceovers, whatever needs done, because I have the microphone tabernacle set up always. So basically what this is that it's a pop filter. It is a portable studio, so like there's foam on the inside to cut down reflections, of your voice spreading throughout the room, bouncing back, and then inside sits the microphone right there, the AKG 420, and that's been the microphone that I've been using recently. If I'm using an SM57, I am not using this at all. I will be using this little mount so I can go and point that towards my acoustic guitar, my ukulele, but that'll be what the SM57 is used for. Then the final aspect is that I have the MIDI controller set up ready to go at all times. It just needs plugged in, and this has been paying so much dividends ever since I got it, because I've been using this more and more and more, and it is very essential to what I'm about to show you. So that was a mini studio tour. Of course, I could do a full one, talk about all of the instruments I use, all of the gear, but that's not for today. If you want to see that, let me know down in the comment section below. But we talked about the tools. Now let's go ahead and talk about the how. So let's go ahead and make me small and Logic big. And there we are. So 9 times out of 10, I'm always going to start off with drums. And there are 3 different ways that I do this. The easiest way, and if I'm working on just my own music and I need just quick inspiration, I'll just go to Logic and then I'll just add one of their stock drummers. So for instance, Kyle will load up right here, our pop rock drummer, and here's how his groove sounds. It's okay, but I want it faster. You can go up here and mess around with the tempo. Then maybe you want more hi-hat, maybe you want it to swing more, make these a 16th note groove. You can make it more loud and complex. And maybe Kyle's just not doing the job for you. You can go explore different drummers. If you want to stick with the rock feel, you got many people like Max and Jesse in here. Maybe you want an R&B feel. Maybe you want to go with Rose, who Rose I use quite frequently because the drums are awesome. Yeah, there we are. And then you can go in and mess around further, but you can keep auditioning drummers. Maybe you want to use one of the hip-hop drummers like Dez, and you can load up Dez's drum track. But maybe you don't want it to be electronic drums. Maybe you want it to be a real kit. You can go in and change the kit just at the very bottom. So now Dez's drums sounds... is super cool. Maybe you just want some acoustic production. Maybe you just want to hire Quincy to do a little groove, which is nice, chilled, and laid back. So that's for my quick inspiration. That's if I need a drummer and just drums quick and I don't know where to go. But the way I've been doing it more so has been programming all the drums myself. So I'll go up, I'll pick a drum kit such as the 4 on the floor, and then 2 ways I go about this. The way that I've been leaning to more if I just want an idea is I'll play everything on my MIDI keyboard because I have full control of the drum kit. And so on and so forth. And or I can hit Command K and get everything there as well. And of course the MIDI controller has pads on it with assigned sounds, so you can go in and reassign them, but I really like using the keys on my MIDI controller. So I'll just go ahead and just hit record and play groove. And so on like that. And you hear that I was a little bit off, which is what the quantization tool is for. You can go ahead, and if you don't have good rhythm, like myself, you can go in and quantize everything. You can make it swing a bit more if you really want to, such as that. Now you get this. Kind of sounds cool. That ending's still a bit wonky, but it's what happens sometimes. Another way is, and this is what I do for covers. If I want to stay true to the cover, stay true to the drum groove, I'll go in and I'll put everything in by hand. So I'll just go and paint and use the pencil tool and just come up with a drum groove this way, which can take forever. But thankfully, most drum grooves do loop, so it can be a copy and paste process as well. So let's hear how this sounds. Just a nice basic groove. And then you can take stuff away, such as these. And or you can make it swing more with the quantization tool, because the quantization tool is amazing. Which it will be more noticeable if I add some more things on the hi-hats, such as these. Let's hit the quantize. There we are. So that is how I usually go about doing drums. 9 times out of 10, that is where I start. Unless I'm searching for inspiration and or if I'm working on a different type of song, like a lo-fi song, which may or may not be a little project that I'm working on. So then it just becomes a game of going through and looking at all the sounds you can get, exploring the different sounds in the synths, the organs, the clav, maybe go into the legacy section, seeing all the old sounds. Lately, I've been going to the keyboards and just been selecting something like, I don't know, dark lo-fi piano, and then of course I can control it from my MIDI controller. And just going things that way. And of course I can go ahead and hit record and play stuff on my MIDI controller, and or I can go in, just like the drums, and program everything by hand, which is something I really love doing because it is just very fun. And then going from there. In terms of covers, in terms of some of my original music, the more the rock style stuff, this will be one of the last steps. I'll record guitar, I'll do drums, record guitar and bass, then I'll program the keys, MIDI, the organ, synths, very last. I figured we should talk about it here just because we are, in fact, here. So, and then the great thing, you can go in and maybe you don't like the sound of that, maybe you want to hear it sound on an organ, like that, and or go to the synths, go look at a pad and just hear how it sounds using anything, and going from there. So that's the 1 out of 10 where I start, but I've been using it more and more, and so there's that. Now let's actually go into how I record guitar and bass. So when it comes to guitars and basses, a lot of people ask, Justin, do you mic up amplifiers? What mic do you put to the amplifier? How far away do you put the microphone? And the answer to all your questions is, I rarely, if ever, mic up an amplifier, because when I have time to record music, it's usually late at night and or early in the morning. Other people live here, so I don't want to crank up my amp super, super loud to get the good tones, and plus in this neighborhood you really can't. So I record everything straight into my audio interface, so I get the DI signal, I get the direct signal, and from there I can do whatever I want with it. I can reamp it 1,000 times, audition different amplifiers through software, I can chop it up, I can manipulate it to sound like something completely different. Recording the DI is super essential, and basically what I do is I plug my instrument in, and then I'll mess around with this gain fader right over here. First, make sure fan power is off. You don't want to damage your instrument, but I'll go ahead and just, if I'm recording a lead line, I'll hit a note, and if it's in the green, that means I am good and nothing is going to clip. If it goes into the red, like it is now, that means that you are going to cause some distortion, which will sound bad later on, and there isn't a lot you can do with it because it's already clipped, it's already distorted. You want to shoot for green, maybe orange. Orange is basically saying you're good, but you are on the verge of clipping, and you just want to keep it within the green, within the orange, so that way it's not loud enough to cause digital distortion. And I'll do this if I'm doing chords. If I know that I'm going to be strumming heavy, I'll do the heavy strums and then gauge from there. If I know I'm going to be doing some palm muting, I'll gauge from there. Like here, you can see that we are still good. If I crank it up just a little bit farther, you can see we're still good unless I really lay into it. And that is the process. And the same thing goes for bass, just doing a bass line, slapping the bass, doing whatever you're doing within the song just to see if you are going to be clipping or not. Less clipping, the better. No clipping is perfect. Now, I don't have time to go in and record something to show you the process because I do have to actually leave soon for that lesson I mentioned. But I pulled up the cover of Fake You Out that I did because it has some things in there, which is something I do with every single cover. So let's go ahead and make Logic big, me small. There we are. So you can see on your screen that I have several guitars recorded. Lead synth guitar, which is the lead guitar doing the synth line, then 2 left rhythms, 2 right rhythms, a clean guitar, and a bass thing. And then you can see with the left rhythm and the right rhythm, they are panned hard left and hard right respectfully because they're doing the same thing. So now the question comes up, why record the same thing and pan it hard left, hard right? Why don't you just record one guitar and just be done with it? Well, the answer is you can just record one guitar. However, recording 2 guitars really helps thicken up the sound. Trying to do the same thing twice, you're really never going to do because there are going to be some slight differences. For example, there could be one of these where I ring a note on a little longer than the other one. There could be I cut off a note too soon. Just how hard I pick or how soft I pick really affects it. And then from there, you can go in and change the amplifiers that you use. And the amp sim that I use 99% of the time is overloaded by True Slate audio. I absolutely love it. Have guitar, like clean guitar settings, rock guitar, high gain. They have bass ones which sound great. You can come up with your own user presets so you can save ones if you tweak one and or you really like. And the best part, you don't have to commit to one. You can keep going and auditioning different amplifiers. It's really great. And something I do when I record hard left and hard right is I have 2 different amplifiers. So this is the right, this is the left, 2 different sounds, and it's such ideal to me. And like I said, that is used for 99%. I love amp sim software. There's some really great ones such as Overloud, as I mentioned before. I love the archetypes, the Nolly archetype I recently just purchased, and I'm super excited for that. And the Corey Wong archetype. PRS makes one with Waves Audio. Positive Grid has one. PV has one. There's so many great amp sims out there, and Logic has some built-ins, in which I do use sometimes. I have a cover coming out on Monday, to which I do use one of their amplifiers. But that'll be how I go about recording most guitars. I'll record hard left, hard right. And then you can see at the very bottom I have the clean tone, which is there's just one clean guitar. And the only reason why there's one clean guitar is that there are other things happening. There are synth lines happening over top, such as these right here. And that will be the thing. And then, of course, you can audition amps that way. And then same thing goes for bass. And of course, I do everything with multiple takes. Sometimes takes won't be good, sometimes takes will be longer, sometimes takes will be shorter, depending on how you go. There's nothing wrong with doing many takes on there. And then you can go in further, and as you see for bass there are more plugins just to help thicken up the sounds. There are some more rhythm guitars for when the actual rap section comes in over here. Let me turn everything on. And so that'll be the process, just recording the lines in, locking in with the metronome, locking in with the drums. Now, when I record, I usually start off with one rhythm guitar first. I'll start with one rhythm guitar, record all the rhythm parts, then I'll move on to rhythm guitar 2. Sometimes I'll do them both back to back. So for example, this section right here in the song. If I nailed that and I knew I was going to forget it, I would go ahead and record guitar 2 along with that. And sometimes that will be the process, recording everything back to back to back, and or do everything long ways, then the other one long ways. After that, I'll go ahead and record the bass, then I'll go ahead and record any twinkly extra guitar stuff, such as solos. If there's any miscellaneous fills that go on, just anything miscellaneous, that will be the next step within the guitar's process, such as clean guitar. Then let's talk about vocals. Vocals, same thing you do for your guitar. You plug your microphone in, you talk into it, you sing into it, you get as loud as you can, then you adjust the gain on your audio interface and go from there. On this one, I have 4 different vocal tracks because I do 4 different little sections of the song. I have the singing, I have the rap section, then I have 1 auxiliary track just for any random noises I want to make. So let's go ahead and listen.
You say I'm not alone, but I am petrified. You say that you are close.
And of course, the vocals are, in fact, processed, which brings up to a question. Justin, do you use auto-tune? To which the answer is, yes, I do use pitch correction, because a lot of music, well, within the past 15 years, really since 2005, early 2000s, all the recordings you've heard has some form of pitch correction on them, whether that be auto-tune. I just recently learned that auto-tune was a brand, not the overall name of things, which is pitch correction software. Some people use Melodyne, some people use other plugins. Waves, they make in pitch correction software. Personally, I use things that are built into Logic, such as Flex Pitch. Now, Flex Pitch is basically the same thing as Melodyne. Let's see if I can actually go in and see. Yes, here we are. So basically, you can go ahead and click on Note. It will play the note for you, then it will show you what you're singing. And then you can go ahead and make it more in tune. Make it more out of tune, so now this sounds like...
I'll never be.
I'll never be. And or you can make it really low.
I'll never be.
And do things like that. Now, if this works, I should be able to go into here. Sometimes this works, sometimes it will be a pain to get into. Hit that. Yes, there we are. So, you can go in further and then adjust things like vibrato, so how hard your vibrato is. So if I take something like, I don't know, let's say do this line right here. We can make the vibrato more even. We can make the vibrato more intense. And that's the more intense side of things. Let's go ahead and look for another example. Let's go ahead and do this one right here. If I just want to make this just one clean, consistent note, and if I can make it more chaotic, do stuff like that. So that'll be something that I do. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't do it, depending on if I'm sick while I'm singing or not. But that'll be the most common way I do the most. And it's actually a pretty common technique that a lot of modern music has been doing. And then I sometimes will go further and add some pitch correction software to the actual bus that I am recording in. Now, this is typically a pretty slow one. You see up there, I have it set to the key that we're in. I have it set to where it's a very slow one.
What you see inside, you say I'm not alone.
It's very slow, but I mean, I could go to all T-Pain with it.
What you see inside, you say I'm not alone.
And or I can even go crazier and just have it be one note.
What you say inside, you say I'm not alone, but I'm petrified.
So that'll be something I do. And rarely I have it set to T-Pain mode unless I am doing something that requires it, such as this one section I recorded right here.
You out, fake.
where I knew I wanted to be very consistent and I wanted to have like the pitch accurate. You see there's only 3 notes selected, and throw on something else to give me a little synth harmony there. And then I have another section for rap just because it does a completely different style, because you're not singing, you're doing things in there.
Me, that's what all the kids are doing.
And then having another thing for any random voices you want to make. And do stuff like that. Now, typically, most artists, and something I've been experimenting with, will be doing the melody, singing it 3 times, having one pan hard left to hard right, and then one pan, the good one, pan center to help thicken up the sounds. And much like how we did with the guitars, it's all about thick. It's all about making your mixes thick, something to which I am trying to get better at. And then, of course, like recording a choir, yourself as a choir can take many, many more takes. And of course, no one's perfect, and sometimes it'll take a lot of takes just to do one section of a song. I think in my Anathema cover, I did over 100 takes of one line. Sometimes that'll be what it does, but that is basically how I do vocals. It's just drinking lots of water, singing, and then going about mixing everything together, which the overall mix and how I made this song can be another episode altogether. The final thing is when I'm mixing. I don't have a pair of monitors, so I do everything through headphones, and I have plugins that really help me mix, such as the Abbey Road Studio plugin from Waves Audio. They make the NX plugin. Basically, these are monitor simulation tools where it turns on your webcam and then it simulates like you're in a room with speakers. You can move around and you can hear how things sound through simulated speakers, which really help mix. Another thing I'll do is I'll export everything, go into my car, and hear how it sounds the way I listen to most music, which is in the car. I'll export to my phone, hear how it sounds over the phone, then I'll use every device that I can just to hear how the mix is. Do I record with headphones on? Only if I'm recording vocals and or if I'm using a mic such as an SM57 if I'm recording acoustic guitar. Which if I do record acoustic guitar, I typically will have it sit in front of me like this. I'll grab the mic stands and I'll either use this and or I'll go super janky with it. I'll just have it sitting on the table, just pointing. I'll sit really still and I'll typically have it mic'd right around the sound hole, a little bit over on the fretboard, like right where I am pointing, right around this region, because this is where I notice I get the thickest and most full sound from. And of course, sitting really still because I need to get a new chair, because this is a squeak machine. Definitely most important gear of the studio, the chair. So that way you aren't doing that all the time. And that really is the entire process on how I record music. Start off with drums, move on to rhythm guitar 1, rhythm guitar 2, then the bass, then all the lead guitars, exported guitars, then I'll program all the MIDI, whether that be organ, piano, a synth line. If the piano is the driving forces of a song, I'll record the piano before I record the guitar. Then I'll do vocals, which is just singing, and then processing everything, mixing, EQing, compressing, which that's all complicated stuff we'll save for a different video. Mastering, which I'm still not good at and trying to get there, but that is the gist of how I record all of my music. It can be a complicated process, but once you get into it, it is super, super fun. It looks intimidating, but it's all about using your ear. Whatever sounds good to you, that is the most important thing. And of course, we live in a day where the internet is the most useful source. I learned so many audio production tricks through TikTok, through YouTube. There are so many great things out there today that you can go watch, but that is just how I personally record music. If you have any questions, just let me know down in the comment section below and I'll try to answer as much as I can. Let me know what you want to see out of this series. Do you want to see that full studio tour? Do you want to see how I made a song? Like, go like do a deep dive in how I made Fake You Out, deep dive into any other song I did, and or other questions, we'll go in and talk about them. The series is looking like it's going to be a once a month thing, so just let me know if more people like it. I'll make it a more frequent thing. I certainly love making these videos, but that's just me. But anyway guys, I'll go ahead and I will see you all later. Goodbye, and good night. More importantly, have a good day, and I'll see you later.